Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Amplified, episode 57. We are coming to you live from producer Jamie's Football Emporium over here in Atlanta, Georgia. We have a special guest tonight, Pete Pidgeon.
Football Emporium and Den of Geekdom.
And Den of Geekdom. Yes, we'll maybe get into some of that. But yeah, we're over here at producer Jamie's house. This is exciting. I was at home in Connecticut last week, and of course, going home always fills the mind and heart and soul with nostalgia, usually for the better, fortunately in my situation. But, someone that I always I rely on to support me through those nostalgic moments is a guy named Pete Pidgeon, who I've known since fourth grade. We grew up together in Connecticut. Pete is our guest tonight. He's calling in from the greater Paso Robles area out in California. And we would like to invite Pete to the show. Justin, thanks for saying hello. We got a couple people in chat, and good to see everybody out there. Brad is showing up, and a couple of newcomers here. Pete is one of my high school homies who, whenever I'm home and I'm feeling nostalgic, I can call him up for a lifeline. And Matt Ostrower, who's in the chat, is also one of those. And we all grew up relating to each other on music. We played in bands together in high school, and we talked about that a little bit on another show when we had Brian Hobson. We were down in the basement. And I think Pete, you might have been on that one as well. So Pete is an important character in my life on a lot of levels. One of which is that he taught me my first couple of guitar licks on the guitar. He taught me some Rush licks, and Pete was a big Rush fan, and way more advanced than I was at the guitar at an early age, and showed me a couple licks. We met in fourth grade. I think Pete will chime in here in a sec. We're going to try to find a different way to log him in. We met in, I believe it was fourth grade. I want to say right when I moved in. We were all members of Latimer Lane Elementary School, which was sort of a Yankee boot camp style elementary school. But we met through music, and Pete is actually a much funnier person than me, so I'm really missing him on the stream right now because he's always got something funny to say. Hey, Pete, where was that bar that you took your promo shot? The Sheraton, Los Angeles, everybody. Pete, John Scudder wants to know what your main guitar you're playing is these days. Ibanez RG? Pete's laughing, John. He's holding up. Is that the ES 175? 1980 ES 175. Oh, really? So this one is. He said it was a factory second that was set for destruction. How do you get your hands on one of those? Mr. Music in Boston is in 2000 is where he got that. Pete?
Yep.
Good to see you.
Okay.
We are.
Hold that up for the whole session.
Yep. Jamie's got a new job now. He doesn't have to do so much camera switching.
Okay. All right. Whatever works. I can't see the chat, so if someone has a question, just let me know.
I'll translate it for you, Pete. Thanks for your resilience. That is one of the themes tonight. That's why we had a live demonstration of why Pete Pidgeon kicks ass is because of resilience. It was a live demonstration. You didn't lose your cool. You didn't back out on me, Pete. You hung in there with us, and now we can see you.
So I got a good story on that. So
resilience, okay.
And everyone out there, can you ask everyone if they can hear me?
Yeah, you guys getting some audio on Pete now, everybody?
Can you guys hear me out there?
Maybe
I
to
put my microphone on it.
Okay, yeah, we've got a little mic on you.
Okay, so they're all thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Yes, we have now circumnavigated technical problems.
Okay, so this reminds me of like the second to last gig I played before lockdown. I had just gotten hired by Jamie Alimorad to play in his band. He's produced by Gino Vannelli and Ross Vannelli. And we got the opportunity to open for Gino at the Saban Theater in Beverly Hills. And big show, 4,000 people or something. And we get up there, we do the sound check, extraordinarily challenging material. I didn't have a whole lot of time. I underestimated the workload I had. And you hear the songs, like Gino songs, you hear them and you're like, that doesn't sound that hard. And then when you read the chart, you try to figure it out, you're in for a world of hurt. So,
hold on, I can't do the hold and everything all at once.
Okay, so
are you muted still?
I had to cram for the gig, and I in 5 days I got all the material down, memorized it, no charts. We go out there, we do sound check. Everything sounds fine. It was this guy, it's Taylor 714, and I plugged it in. We did the sound check. Everything sounds great. And so we take a little breather. I'm stretching out, getting ready for the show. We go on stage. I pick up the guitar. He counts out the first song, and there's no sound.
Yeah.
And there's 4,000 people, and Gino sitting in the front row with his arms crossed, waiting for us to do something, you know? And the sound guy comes out. He's trying to figure out what's going on with the patches and the DI, and there's nothing there. It's just uncomfortable, dead silence. And it turns out that for whatever bizarre reason, the electronics in this guy decided to die.
That was their night. That was their special night that they were like, nope, sorry.
And it wasn't a dead battery. Tried a new battery, and it was just the electronics just got fried. And it was probably my energy going into the electronics of just like super anxiety intensity that blew it out. But so anyway, I had this 175 with me, and I just picked that up. I went direct, plugged in, and we did the show, and I pulled it off. But that, if you don't have that kind of patience and resilience, you can't make it in the industry, because if you freak out, then your brain isn't going to be level enough to be able to handle the music that you got to execute on the gig. So it's a skill. It is what it is.
Dude, how much time lapse from when that guitar failed on you to when the you grabbed the 175 and we're like, all right, I got to work around?
Well, I mean, in your head, it must have been 5 minutes, but it was probably like 90 seconds,
right.
2 minutes. And it just seemed like forever, you know? It was also my first gig with Jamie. So, you know, he didn't blame it on me or anything, but like, it's still frustrating that, you know, you want to come in hot and just nail the gig, but
well,
here.
It is. It's such a bitch when you've done something, you know, many times successfully, and that one time where there's some anomaly that you can't explain shows up.
So here's a funny one. So we were talking about Battle of the Bands.
Yeah.
And at that gig in 91 when I played Eruption, so I don't know if you know this story, but so we opened with Spirit of Radio.
Okay.
And if you notice, I play it all clean. And it's not supposed to be clean, obviously, but I play the whole song clean, no distortion. And it comes up to Eruption. You can't play Eruption clean.
No.
It doesn't work. So I'm standing there, and as Phil Allen's saying, here's a little song called Eruption, I'm doing this on my distortion pedal. It's one of those old Boss Metal Zone pedals.
Yep.
And, the thing had been beat to shreds. It was already used at that point. I played it every day of my life, and it's missing knobs and dented and whatever.
Oh, sure.
So I'm just like hammering on this thing. And then the second right before I hit the first chord, it goes on. So that could have gone either way. That could have completely ended the reason that we're having this combo today, because you saw the WFSB thing. That never would have happened. I never would have had that story. So
it's so funny, and I'm glad we got a chance to catch up about that, because a couple days ago, or was it maybe even it was like 2 days ago, my mom sends me a text message with the news, and she goes, check this out, and it's Pete Pidgeon doing an awesome slice of life news story from our hometown in Simsbury, Connecticut. And I was just like, this is amazing. And there was a clip from that show, and you and I were talking about it on the way in here. And it's like, when we were kids, that was an iconic moment, not even for us, but like for our parents and for people that happen to be at the school, to say, look at this guitar prodigy who just completely wailed on this Van Halen song. And it was a crystallizing moment for both those of us who were competing against you in the Battle of the Bands, which was like the one gig of the year for anyone who was trying to be a rock and roller. But it was like it was this iconic like moment, and it's not like it's like a heyday kind of thing. It's more just like that was not only crystallized for definitely for you because you were in the middle of it. I can only imagine what that felt like. But like for all the rest of us that were going like, damn it. Why do I gotta start playing guitar all of a sudden? This guy's just crushing.
After that happened, I was sitting in the jazz room.
Yeah, Matt says for the town. It was for the crystallizing for the town. It was like a thing.
I was sitting in the jazz room. It might have been after no, it couldn't have been after the gig. It must have been like my freshman year or something. And one of the seniors came in, like the senior guitar player who was in jazz band at the time. And he was like, dude, can you play that for me? And at that point, I had been so burned out on like 100% of the world asking me to play it like a monkey in a zoo.
Well, yeah.
I'm like, can you do the dance thing? Can you do that? And
Dance
meanwhile,
monkey.
I'm like moving on. I'm playing other songs. And it's obviously an honor when people do that. I'm sure Deep Purple gets a lot of requests for Smoke on the Water. But I remember that like being like, whoa, this is weird. Like a senior is not only talking to me, but asking me to help him with some guitar stuff. So I think it was hard to put it in perspective because at the time I had zero confidence. I had no idea that I was talented or good or anything.
Or certainly beyond your peers.
Yeah, I didn't know like what my peers could do yet because I hadn't really seen anyone. I'd seen you in like my 8th grade band at the time was John Ferreira and Kevin Barnicle, Mark Solito, and I don't remember who was on bass. It was probably Takeif.
Yeah,
Brian Takeif.
Sounds right. Because you guys were like the A team.
And we played Closer to the Heart by Rush. And one of the things that frustrates me is that like, but pre-Nirvana, pre-grunge, like, we were just kicking each other's butts, like, with playing the hardest material, and Van Halen and Rush and Pink Floyd, and, it was hard stuff, so you really had to work at it.
Screwy arrangements, non-linear things, and yeah.
You had guys like Pete Sperger that could play all of Subdivisions perfectly. Yeah. And he was in like a freshman in high school, like John Takeif that could play Spirit of Radio perfectly, like just like, or Justin Foley playing Natural Science with us.
All
like,
high achievers.
Nobody no one does that. Like, and now it's like, guys, you're missing we need to hear something more from this generation. So.
Yeah, I'm with you. That was like, yeah, we learned all this stuff, and then all of a sudden Nirvana broke it all, and it was like, what? You're on the radio and you're just playing power chords? What the hell?
So after that first year of Battle of the Bands, 8th grade, I had gotten invited to join Uncle Chief's band, which is the band, Uncle Gabe's band, which won the year that you and I played as 8th grade. But they changed their name a little bit, changed their lineup a little bit.
A couple guys probably graduated, I think.
Yeah. And it was Jason Rhodes, Pete Parcelletti, Julie Moore, and John Fenwick.
Yes.
And so these are all like wicked upperclassmen. Like, you know, I don't even know a single person in their grade. And somehow I get invited into this band, but I was playing acoustic rhythm guitar on Grateful Dead songs and Van Morrison songs and stuff. And we did one gig at Gemini's, my first club gig ever. We opened for Diamondback. If you remember them, they were like the local classic cover band.
I know all about some Diamondback.
And, oh, nice. That's awesome. And they did come out with an album. But, so anyway, we're playing that gig, and then I told them, they wanted to know if I would be in for Battle of the Bands. And I quit the band because I wanted to play Testament and, like, metal, you know? And they wanted to play, like, songs that girls like. And I was like, I don't do that.
Boo!
So I ended up quitting a band, and of course, I think they won that year, freshman year, and like they blew up, and I was just like, I'm an idiot. Like, what was I thinking?
You're like, I could have played the pool party this summer had I stuck it out with those guys.
Dude, you know, but that's where I was at. So in '92, when everything had changed from grunge, I didn't change. I was still into Extreme and, you know, Van Halen and whatever. I didn't jump on that boat until probably senior year.
Yeah. It takes a minute to deprogram from that stuff. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Although it wasn't really even until 2000 that I taught myself to sing. And that obviously made all the difference because I wouldn't have a career if all I did was shred. So I learned how to write songs, and I learned how to sing and just do composition and production and all that stuff. That's starting around 2000. But before that, like, I mean, I was shredding in 96, 97. And no one cared.
It's funny. Yeah, it's funny to now. Like, I feel like in the internet age, like you can find it's so much easier to find the communities that honor and love that type of guitar playing and prowess and musicianship. Like, people can find each other now, but then it was just so much harder to, you know, build community. I feel like.
Well, man, this didn't get on the air, but when I was talking to Audrey from WFSB...
Scudder says, way to not sell out, too. Way to stick to your guns, Pete.
Yes, Scudder!
Thank you, John.
Scudder, great job fixing my guitar, by the way. Thank you for that.
Yes, if you're in the greater Hartford area in Connecticut and you need some guitar work done, we can hook you up. Send us a note in the chat. We got a guy.
We got a guy. We got the best.
Pete, you were mentioning learning how to sing, and I want to go back for a quick second. I want to talk about the influence of Mr. Barnicle on your life. You know, as someone who, you know, gave you a thumbs up at a crucial point in your life. Tell me, and it was featured in that, and it brought a lot back. I was so glad you got to interface with him a little bit, and it was very touching to see. But tell me a little bit about this character.
Dude, yeah. So I didn't pursue him. I was in all the bands you could be in, except for choir and orchestra.
Like all the formal school like things that we had access to.
Concert band, marching band, jazz bands, talent show, battle of the bands. But I didn't sing yet. I was petrified of singing.
Wow.
And so I didn't join choir and I didn't join orchestra. But I don't remember when it was, I did youth orchestra at the Hart School. I mean, learning to play mallet percussion and actually play in a symphony orchestra was like really, really cool. So I did have some orchestra background, but anyway, So I would stay late after school and play drum set.
Okay.
And there'd be nobody around, and I could play super loud, and I would just go in the band room and play for like an hour until the late bus came. And I was in there one evening, and Mr. Barnicle walked in, and he was like, "Hey, man, it sounds pretty good. I've got this choir concert coming up. Why don't you play drums on it?" And I was like, "Cool! I got the call."
Yeah.
You know, like it felt like I was an actual session musician. Like,
right.
It's everything you want when you're a professional, for someone to be like, "You sound good. I got a gig for you. Call me Thursday."
Yeah.
You know?
Here's your golden ticket, Charlie.
Yeah, and so he gave me that first experience of that. So anyway, I learned the material. I played the gig, and it was so cool. Like it was my first gig playing drum set live.
That's amazing.
In front of, we're so spoiled that we got to play in a 1,200 person auditorium with professional lighting and sound.
Yeah.
So it felt like you were really playing a concert. I mean, 1,200 people is a lot now, much less when you were 14. So anyway, I did that, and then he brought me into some of his classes. So I took some orchestra classes and some production classes. We were talking about how he would teach you how to use the oscilloscope and the Moog synth and rudimentary recording techniques.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously,
Matt Ostrower was in the chat too. He of course had to shout out Bob Yurko, who's another questionable and possibly unspeakable character in our lives, who was the school roadie of sorts. But yeah, where
the Simpsons bus driver was in real life.
These characters are real. So yeah. But Matt also.
I don't think I can legally speak about that any further.
No. That's where we draw. That's where we draw the line.
Yeah, do your own research.
Yeah, do your own research. But Matt was also in the lab, and I remember him spending a lot of time, after school, working on recordings and things that we were working on. He was, a bandmate, and he always had it down. He had a knack for the recording gear, much more than me. But he actually committed to doing which album was it, Matt? Wasn't October Sky, or no? There was a particular record, and I think I have it. It's up in Connecticut. But Matt did the whole thing, after school, and it was like multi-tracked on the cassette recorder. But yeah, Mr. Barnicle was so generous with just letting us use that gear as long as we were being productive and responsible with it. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, he had a lot of trust. I remember a lot of people not liking Mr. Barnicle, but I'm pretty sure it was because he was tough.
Yeah.
And I responded positively to tough. Like, I wanted someone to kick my ass and push me to my limits so that I could get better. And that could be really intimidating for some people. So I don't know if that's the case, but I got that impression that he was a serious dude. But I liked being around someone who took me seriously and would give me serious material. So I really had that level of respect for him.
It wasn't easy to get the gold star from him. But if you excelled and you just got half of a smirk or a smile or a thumbs up, it was as good as 10 gold stars.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. It was.
And I also learned a really good lesson there. And in one of his classes, he had us all be quiet. And he said, "I want all of you to write down what you hear." And half the class was like, "Well, dude, if it's quiet, I don't hear anything, man." And so he's like, no, let's just do the thing. So I write down 20 things, like the air conditioner. I can hear Mr. Gould mowing the grass.
Yes.
I can the pencils on papers. I can hear shuffling of feet on the ground. Somebody caught. So I make this big long list, and most people would be like they heard the chalkboard or something. And I'm just rattling off 20 things. He's like, "Okay, we get it. You got the assignment. Yeah, good job." But it taught me to listen beyond what's in the foreground.
Yep.
And as a producer, that's invaluable. You want to hear the pops, and the bad edits and all that little minutia that's sitting in the background. So that was the first time I ever learned that was from him.
Yeah. And I remember, so Mr. Barnicle, for those of you who weren't, in the class, it was the choir class. So you had the little risers, and I remember it being kind of this small sort of semicircular classroom, almost like a collegiate auditorium, but the choir risers were kind of built into the classroom. It was a choir room, but this one particular class, it was like intro to recording or something, like intro to electronic music or something like that.
Yeah, that's it.
And they were big speakers that were really wide, the big government issue brown speakers that were attached to the wall. They were probably old Altex or something. And he had whatever like green government issue stereo system. And I remember him playing, it was Whole Lot of Love. And he played Led Zeppelin's Whole Lot of Love. And it was another one of those exercises where it was all this weird panning. And he used it as an example of like what is possible in a stereo recording, atonal stuff, women screaming. I think he even went so far as to talk about the fake orgasm, thing that was happening in that song. We were probably, I don't know, 9th or 10th grade, old enough to, have those kind of conversations or whatever. But he just very clinically pointed out those things, and in a buttoned up blazered setting, deconstructing this rock and roll, and it was this odd juxtaposed, education process that I certainly grabbed me.
What he told me was that he basically thought, no one's doing this. Why isn't anyone doing this? Like, we have the gear and no one's doing this. Like, we should be teaching the kids all of this stuff. We have the resources. And Mr. Griswold was overburdened or didn't want to bother or whatever. And so Mr. Barnicle was like, all right, cool, I'll jump in. So that was bold on his part to, take the initiative, take extra time out of his busy schedule to give us all that info.
Y'all had actual interesting teacher names.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Mr.
Barnicle was a good one.
I had Mr. Fretz.
Fretz? You had Mr. Fretz? Jamie said he had Mr. Fretz. As a music teacher?
No.
Oh, okay.
History.
He taught.
Eldon Fretz. Music was Dwyer and shoot, I don't remember.
I like the teachers who have the name that has something to do with what they actually teach. Sometimes you find people that have that.
They should just change their names. Once you choose your profession, you have to change your name to match. You know how, like in olden days, people's surnames were for what they did. Like a farrier was the person who put shoes on horses.
A singer, that would have been Mr. Barnicle.
Singer, yeah. So, like, once you choose your profession, if you're a band instructor, you are from there on known as like Mr. Band and Mr. Choir or Mrs. Choir.
Well,
orchestra.
I would just like to, in the spirit of that, I'd like to say that Mr. Barnicle had a very sticky teaching style. Really stuck with me.
Barnicle.
Come on, I'm trying to put a point on the board here, guys.
If any of the tech were working properly tonight, I'd put a point up, but nothing's working.
Oh no, it's really fun to groan. Yeah, that's right, Brad. All right, don't worry, I'll pay for your Wi-Fi on the plane. You'll get your money back.
He needs a barf bag after that one.
Yeah. That's right. That's okay.
I'm trying to log into the chat, but my phone isn't really doing it yet. So
I got 0.
If anything happens cool over there, just announce it.
Oh yeah, I got a dad joke alert and 0 points. I actually got a point. I think they're taking points off of the board for that bad joke. But no, that was fun, Pete, and I'm glad we shared that because Matt and I have talked about that. I've never really talked to you about your Mr. Barnicle experience till I saw that piece that was on the news the other day.
Cool. I didn't know you also took those classes, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and how did that piece come about? Because it was like a piece about our something about Simsbury in the 90s or whatever, and I got a sense
that was totally out of the blue.
Really,
I just got an email from Audrey, and she was like, "Hey, we're doing retrospective on 20 towns in 20 days. Simsbury's one of the towns. We're focusing on 1990s." And she did a search, and the Battle of Vanston came up. So she reached out via email, and that was that.
So it's out there. It's out in the etherwebs.
Yeah, and to follow up on your point earlier, like, dude, if we had YouTube back then, like 2 14-year-old kids like rocking out for 1,200 people, like we would have gotten some interest, and there would have been like a push to be like, what's going on in Simsbury? It's the next Seattle, you know? Like, we would have had record labels driving up to the high school in limos.
At least Avon would have paid attention to us. Hard to get those kids to do anything.
Yeah, man.
So dude,
I don't know. I'm way over regretting the fact that we didn't have those resources, but you're right. Now that kids have that stuff, I mean, there's 14-year-old kids playing Eruption on YouTube now that have 20 million views. So good for them. They have the resources we didn't have.
Yeah, it is.
Just for a little story of wasted resources. The other day I was in Publix doing some grocery shopping, and there were some probably 8 to 12, somewhere in that range, kids wandering around the aisles of the grocery store trying to surreptitiously record other shoppers.
Oh, wow.
In some attempt to be YouTube famous. I got to play the old guy for like the first time in my life and tell the kid to put the phone away or I was going to turn him into security.
Oh, burn, Jamie. Pete, what else if my mom says Simsbury is a great town? Yes, it is. When you're not 14, it's great.
So
it's a great town for anyone between the ages of 29 and 40.
Yeah, I told the same thing to Audrey, but obviously I didn't want that on the air. Is that the name of our town was Simsboring?
Oh yeah, that's it, Simsboring.
And there was Gemini's, but that was it. And sometimes they'd have 18-year-old nights, or underage or 16 or all ages or whatever.
When they lose their liquor license.
Yeah.
For drugs.
And they'd have to put up the rope, for like the corral of 18-year-old or, sub 18-year-olds or whatever, juice only, and they'd have the water tank. And
who's got some great stories from Gemini's is, and he's probably working right now, is Ryan Pendergast. He has.
Oh, dude, I talked to him last night. He said he's got to work tonight, but he's going to catch the replay.
Okay, good, because we've gotten.
Yeah, I wanted him to come on and talk about like Blacklight and Time, like the bands we had in the later '90s. And
he, much like yourself, has a very vivid memory, where mine gets pretty fuzzy under best case scenarios. He between the two of you guys, I think he could fill in the gaps quite a bit.
Well, I only went to Gemini's, I think, twice. One of them was that Diamondback gig, and then Blacklight played there, and I want to say 94. And that was Dan Kozlov, Justin Foley, Ryan Pendergast, and myself. And it was this odd mix of extreme progressive rock and grunge.
Okay.
So Ryan was sensible enough to bring in songs that people actually wanted to hear. And then
another one of those guys. Boo.
Me and Justin were like, fuck that. We're playing like deep cuts. We played Natural Science from Rush, and we did an extreme song. I think it was Cupid's Dead or something.
Yeah.
And then so Ryan would bring in things like Uncle Tupelo and the samples. And so it was a good like transition period for me, because he was like, dude, you can't keep doing this. You got to play songs. You got to learn how to play songs.
Pete, we got to break you. We have to break you.
Coming out of like shred metal. So yeah, he was a really, really influential person in my life, in my career, to sort of push me in that direction. And here's a funny story I told him, but so prior to that, actually, I got two good stories. So
Ryan Pendergast. Ryan Pendergast is the lead bartender at an amazing bar in Nashville, and we got to call him out. Bourbon and Steak. If you're up in the Nashville area, go see our homie Ryan. Tell him that we sent you. I guarantee you he'll take care of you.
Yeah, right. Or he'll send me a bill.
No, we'll get the bill. We're getting billed heavily for this show in particular. But it's all right. I'll take this one for the team tonight. But yeah, Pete, you had some Pender stories.
Yeah, so prior to the gig, Ryan was having a party, and I didn't get invited to parties. It was the first party I'd gotten invited to, except for birthday parties. You know, like I'd been to your house and Ben Galen's and whatever, but like it wasn't a party. Like my parents are out of town, and I'm having people over.
Yeah.
You know. So he's like, dude, you're gonna have to learn some tunes. You can't play Rush songs. The girls aren't gonna like that. It's not gonna go over. Go home and learn like some pop tunes. So the pop tune that I thought was passable was "Stay" by Lisa Loeb, because it had this cool guitar part, you know.
Yeah.
And so I go home and I start learning the song, and my fucking brother, I don't know if I can swear on here.
Sure, the internet.
My brother comes in and he's like, "Oh, you're learning that weak shit. What? This is a stupid song. You know, learning that, you know, dumb music, whatever." And I'm like, "Oh, all right, you're probably right, man. This doesn't rock, so forget it." You know. So I go to the party, and you know, I'm playing in the other room. No one's listening. I start playing the beginning of "Stay." And like a stampede, all the girls come running in, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's "Stay" by Lisa Loeb." And all I had learned was the intro. So as soon as the intro was done, all the girls were like, "Okay, cool, see you later." And they all left. And so that hindered me from, if I just like, my brother wasn't home and I learned the whole song, I probably would have gotten, you know, popular or something out of that. But, and then I met Lisa Loeb right before COVID, like a few weeks before COVID. She was in LA doing a signing at Amoeba. And so I told her that story, but I think she kind of looked at me like, "What are you talking about?"
What song?
Yeah. But, yeah. That, and then the other story, this is a great one. So, you know, obviously, the talent pool that we all had in Simsbury was so phenomenal. Mm-hmm. From the Naziola brothers to Jason Rhodes to Foley, you know, and so on down the line. And Ostrower, obviously, being with Pandora, and Jason White being with Beats by Dre.
Yep.
And H. Parsons was in the industry, probably still is.
Cobalt, I think, yeah, she's big shot out there.
I mean, Eric Carlson and Brian Hobson, they were still playing and recording, like just ridiculous. And that's just the tip. Like there's so many more people, Worthley and Zakarian and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, just like I end up in a band with a future Grammy nominee, you know? It's like, it doesn't make sense. But at the time, we were all just pushing each other. We didn't think anything of it. So that was Blacklight. And we did the Gemini's gig, and then Rob Basile, he decides to have a festival outdoor party at his farm, Basile's farm in Granby. And so his parents are away, and he's like, "Guys, we're gonna have it's gonna be like Woodstock in Granby. It's like we're gonna set up a stage, and it's gonna be freaking awesome." And so Ryan, I didn't have any money. Ryan rented the PA. God bless him. And I think it was $75 at Daddy's Junkie Music.
From
we got
Daddy,
the big speakers with the big rectangular PV head, and the microphones and the stands and everything. And then Rob's parents, they weren't leaving right away, so we had to delay it by a day. So Ryan had to pay another day.
Extra PA rental, which is, there goes all the profits.
He's at like 150 out, you know, and that's a lot of money for a kid in high school, you know.
Yeah, it's like 20 weeks allowance.
If it gets to be the day of the gig, and we go up there in the afternoon, we set up the whole PA, we lay down carpets, and we do a sound check, and everything's ready to go. And then the cars start coming in, and more cars start coming in, and more and more and more cars start. There's like 150, 200 people there. 300 people there, and we're like, "Whoa, this is going to be so epic." And so they're all parking, and they're creating a big crowd, and Rob's like, "Dude, you guys are ready. Let's go." So we do a line check, and you can hear Justin just start to click off the song. And Rob runs up and he goes, guys, stop. My mom's here. And the police showed up and they kicked everybody out. And Rob's like, you got to get out of here as fast as humanly possible. His mom came up and yelled at us. And like, so Ryan lost $150. We lost the best possible gig in Simsbury of all time.
Of all time?
It would have been so epic. And the neighbors had called it in. So I don't know who Rob's neighbors were in Grammy, but fuck them.
They still, they saw the inflow. We should have figured out a way to like, all right, we're going to space these cars out. One car every 4 minutes. Carpool. We didn't.
I actually have it on tape because I recorded all my shows. So I have the recording of Rob saying, guys, my mom's here.
Wow. That needs to be a ringtone.
Yeah, seriously.
That's a classic Basile story right there.
Yeah, I mean, he tried to make an epic experience for all of us. So, bless him. But...
Oh, God. Best almost concert in Granby, says Matt Ostrower. I didn't get invited to that party. There was a couple of those farm parties I remember kind of being like, oh, nobody invited me. But I guess you didn't really get an invite to those. You just kind of had to know what was going on and show up.
I get it.
Just had to be part of the crowd.
Yeah, you had to be part of the crowd.
It's kind of like Amish farm parties, minus the PA system.
Very similar.
Yeah.
I want to shout out Matt Ostrower here for kindly participating in my first music video.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Matt?
So I was living in New York City, and I got the opportunity to record a video called Unprotected, yeah.
Okay.
And it was one of those 24-hour film things.
Oh, right.
Where they'd be like, you got 24 hours to write something and record it and bring it to the festival.
Yeah, those are cool.
So this girl calls me up. She's like, I want to do a music video. I need a song called Unprotected. So I wrote the song in like a few hours. I sent it over to her. We worked on like the sheet, to figure out what we were going to do and how it was going to get filmed and whatever. I called up Matt. We went to some rehearsal studio, shot a couple things, ran around New York City and put it out. And it is on the interwebs. So I don't know if you've seen it, Matt, since then, but if you just search Pete Pidgeon Unprotected, it's on YouTube.
That's Pete, we're plugging into power here so we don't lose you, but that's a very suspect search. That's a search at your own risk. I don't know if we put that together. That wasn't a very popular hot topic in those days.
Yeah, that's so some people did do videos on that subject,
but it's out there. So this is still there. Your cameo or Matt's cameo?
Still there, yeah. It's on my YouTube channel, but I think if you just search YouTube for it, it should just come right up.
Pete Pidgeon Unprotected.
That's it.
That's it. That's
my first music video cameo by Matt Ostrower.
Matt, who goes by Matt O in volume here. We can shout him out. He says he hasn't seen it. Are the royalties involved?
No! I mean, I must have shown it to him like when it came out, but that was in 2007, 2009.
Unprotected. It's called, well, Jamie's looking it up. It's called Unprotected. Pete Pidgeon Unprotected. It's on his YouTube channel. We might have a premiere happening here in shortly. Producer Jamie's on the case.
If you're going to show a video, show the Will video. But yeah, it would be interesting to see a little bit of that. Matt pops in about halfway through.
Yeah, Will is a good one. Pete, what's going? We spent a lot of time in the past, man, and I would do you no justice by not asking you what's happening now. What's cooking now?
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
So during my career was starting to take off pre-pandemic, and I mentioned Jamie Alimorad.
Yeah.
There was Jazz Fest booked and Canada shows with Gino and South by Southwest, and I'd be in a very different place right now if it wasn't for COVID. But when COVID hit and there were no shows to play, I started a music school, online music school called Lessons from Anywhere. And I had the idea when I was still living in Denver in 2015-ish, 2016. And I didn't put it to use because I started getting gigs in LA and moved to LA and doing that thing. But so when the pandemic hit and we couldn't meet in person, I was like, oh, it's the perfect time to get online music lessons going again. So I set that up, and it's still live.
Awesome.
I'm still pushing it. As we mentioned, Jeremy Gilbertson's kids were taking lessons, so that was pretty cool. And also Heather, I don't remember her maiden name, and I hope she's not watching because that's really embarrassing. Corso? It might have been Heather Corso.
Oh, yeah.
I hope it was Corso, because if it's not, she's going to be like, dude.
Yeah, no. I remember her.
I only know her maiden name. But anyway, her's another SHS person signed up. Gretchen Mather reached out to us at one point. But yeah, lessonsfromanywhere.com, and it's all remote, worldwide, anywhere, any instrument. So that's really kind of helped me get through the pandemic.
What's the oddest instrument that facilitates lessons through lessonsfromanywhere.com?
Hammer dulcimer.
Really?
Yeah, got one call for that.
Okay, good to know.
So that's been live. In my company Mersify, which I started in February 2019, and then that got on pause because of COVID. That is the first streaming platform to pay artists fairly, transparently, and directly. And back then, initially, we were going to do the first immersive streaming platform.
Got it.
And we had met C-level at Dolby in San Francisco, and we went all out. And Matt, I called him a couple times on a couple things, Ostrower. And so that was really taken off. We'd gotten Steve Vai and Jason Becker on the board.
Amazing.
But yeah, COVID put a wrench in that. So I'm working on that again, mersify.com, MERSIFY. So as soon as that is back in the running, that'll be there. And just now starting to put together some music stuff, like as of the last 2 weeks.
Right.
If anyone happens to be a musician living in the San Luis Obispo County area, holler boy. Trying to put together a new lineup and start playing some shows again. And I've got some recording projects that need some financing, but I've got a couple record label people I'm meeting with, so hopefully that'll work out. And mainly just trying to stay healthy and sane.
I would call you my Sherpa for the first time I went through the Grammy process, and I think I remember we were in New York City, and Matt Ostrower and I we connected, and he walked us up there to Madison Square Garden and handed us off into your gentle hands to walk us through the whole process. You've been a voting member for quite some time now, and you were someone who inspired me to kind of get off my butt and adventure into the Recording Academy. Which has been really a great thing. And we missed each other this year, but I always look forward to meeting up with you at the show and navigating that all together. Because the perspective from the cheap seats is always unique between the two of us.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I missed that hang. I just told Dan I'm not going to go this year because the COVID thing is spiking again, and the gas price to drive from here to Anaheim and back is going to be like a few $100. So it's just not good timing, unfortunately.
Totally. Well, where do we hear your music, Pete? Where's the best place for people to find your stuff?
PetePidgeon.com. I own the misspelling of my name too. So if you get it wrong, you'll still get it. P-I-D.
Oh, nice. That's smart.
That's a very smart idea.
Yeah. Pete Pidgeon, thinking on his feet. That's perfect.
And then on YouTube, my channel is Pedro Paloma, all one word. Pedropaloma.
Okay.
So you can see a bunch of videos I've got, a bunch of live stuff and sessions and whatnot. And then on Spotify, Apple Music. Make sure you're searching for Pete Pidgeon and Arcoda, Arcoda. because I put out a solo album at one point, and that comes up as Pete Pidgeon. So if you just search Pete Pidgeon, you hear this like weak solo album that I did 2011 or something. And I was like, no, that's not everything. So Pete Pidgeon and Arcoda, the two streaming, it's on every platform, but the two big ones.
I love it. Yeah, you've been quite prolific in the amount of work that you've put out. I admire that as well, Pete.
Thanks, brother. Try to keep it moving.
I had a flashback. I want to talk about this, and then Jamie, we have a couple of videos or one video, right?
Well, I mean, we have the internet.
We found.
I found the aforementioned Unprotected video.
Nice.
Are we going to premiere that?
I mean, it's on the internet.
I think we might have to roll that unless Pete, you're allowed to
do it up. Do it up.
Oh, we're going to cue it up. All right. So, but what I want to say, this is just a crystalline Pete Pidgeon moment for my life. Pete came down and a number of years ago put his recordings in my hands, and we did a trip to Nashville. He flew down to Atlanta, and we spent a long weekend driving up to Nashville. And we did some recording at Sony ATV, where I had been working as a demo producer, and called in a few friends. And we did some sessions up there, some basic tracks, and we cut a few vocals. I think once we finished, we had 3 or 4 hours left, and I remember cutting some vocals kind of as they were pushing us out the door. But there was a moment when we had access to a couple different microphones, and it was a couple different U67s and maybe a few things. And so, of course, we auditioned them all, and we pulled up like a U47, which is a $10,000 mic, and it was like, okay, that sounds nice. And we pulled up, something else that was a standard, great expensive studio mic, and it was like, oh yeah, that sounds nice, cool. And then the engineer, I think it was PJ, he looked at us, he's like, we've got this other U67. It's had a couple of mods to it, and it's really, really special. You guys need to check it out. So we pulled that one up, and I'll never forget when you sang into that mic, it was just sort of like, I think you almost had to take a moment, because you'd never necessarily heard yourself in a situation where you didn't have to fight the equipment. And I just remember us kind of like going, yep, that's the one. Holy crap. It sounded amazing, because it sounded like nothing almost. Like it was just, there was nothing in between the sound of your voice and the recording. And I remember that was such a special, I feel like that, that was a special moment to me, but I remember that being such a cool moment.
Which microphone?
It was a modified U67. Okay.
I'm so grateful to you for that experience, man. That whole session, it's still the best sounding session I've ever done.
That's cool.
And of course, some of it's the mic, some of it's the room or whatever, but a lot of it's the engineering, which you had a huge part in. And just the opportunity to record at somewhere like Sony Tree in Nashville was super rad. Like, I've been in big studios in Boston, but that's different than big studios in Nashville, and it was super cool. Dave Labriere from John Mayer's band was on that session. Yep. And Steve Brewster, both guys that you brought in, I'm super grateful for. And I had never worked with a session musician like Brewster before, who, I couldn't believe that you could play a drum part in one take perfectly. And perfectly, not even a centimeter off of one hi-hat hit. It fucking blew my mind. That guy is amazing. So being able to work in that environment where I could just throw things out and dudes could just play them instantly, that was such a dream come true, because when you don't have those dudes around that are super pro, which is most of the time, you don't get that experience of you have a vision for something and then they can't execute it. But those guys could just go, man. That was super dope. But again, man, thank you for everything you did on that session and for making it happen. It sounds incredible.
You're welcome.
And I'll tell you that, even when we did the mix sessions for it, the guy brought up the faders and he's like, dude, there's not a lot I have to do here. This sounds great.
I love to hear that. Sometimes you just got to get out of the way of it all.
For the viewers at home, that was an EP called Growing Pains. 3-song EP that's on the streaming platforms.
Great. Yeah. So no, look that up. I need to get back into that stuff because sometimes I'll do a recording and then I don't listen to it, but sometimes it's almost hard to listen to it because it thrusts me back into a time.
No, dude.
And there was nothing bad about it, but it's like you go back and you're like, oh God, and it's like this audio, image that this picture, of course, naturally, I remember the Waffle House on the ride back from Nashville.
The first Waffle House ever.
Is that your first one?
No, I mean, there's many, many Waffle Houses before that one, but the first Waffle House ever built.
Oh, right. Yeah. Waffle House 1.
Waffle House 1, man. Yeah.
Up in Avondale. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
And that was the heart of my waffle housing experience because I was doing Phish tour at that point. And so I would drive cross country back and forth all the time. We'd always go to Waffle House.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, you were no stranger to it.
Because they're 24 hours. So if you didn't have a hotel room, you would just go to the Waffle House and stay up all night.
Yeah, right. just push through.
Push through, man. Yeah.
Dude, well, I gotta say, that's the moral of the story here. I think with our parallel, and intertwined music careers and otherwise, is you got to keep pushing through. And I got to tell you, Pete, that you're someone who's helped me push through, whether it's personal experiences over the past year or so, music, the confidence that you entrusted me to help you record some of your music at one point, and everything in between. So, man, thanks for being a constant, and for pushing through and being an inspiration, man. I appreciate it.
Dude, I'm grateful for our friendship, man. We're still in touch 30 years later,
And then some, but we don't have to do the math. I was never very good at math.
I mean, you're right, but I thought of that after I said it, and I was like, it's not.
Yeah, you're allowed to date us. It's fine. But yeah, so we're gonna cue this. This was your music, Pete, and then the video. Who did the video?
Deb Zeb was her name. That was her professional name. I don't remember her actual full name, but Deb Zeb. It's probably in the credits on that video.
Okay, well, this is a big premiere, and we're looking for a Matt Ostrower cameo here.
Unwillingly rejected.
And Pete, we'll see you again. We've got a lot more of your music to talk about. So, but thanks for being a champ and letting us play this surprise out the door here.
Yeah, do it up, man. Text me or something when it's over because I can't see it.
Okay. You got it.
From here.
It's still rolling through. What streets? Where was this? This was in.
On the subway.
Oh, here I can see a little cue of it on my phone. I can't see the chat, but I can see videos.
Knowing as though.
So yeah, the story here. There's no. Can they hear the audio? They can't hear the audio, right?
They've got the audio.
Oh, they have the audio. Okay. Can they hear us talking?
I believe so.
Okay, cool. So the story was it's kind of just random, weird lyrics. And I lose my job. My character loses my job, but that's the unprotected. I don't have financial protection anymore. That was the use of that word. So I get fired from the job, and I'm like, oh man, what am I gonna do? And so I'm riding the subway, and I see that sign, that poster that says, whenever you want to come and audition for a band,
Through the sunlight,
Drive the Sun, I think was the lyrics that I used. Maybe the sun, I don't know. So here's me then. So I auditioned for Matt's band. That's my drummer. So Matt was the guy who put out the flyer, and I show up, and we're doing the audition right now, and everyone's really feeling it. Brett Follis was the drummer, and then Matt's like, thumbs up, man, you got the gig. And then I go home, and I'm like, oh, hey, I succeeded. This is so great.
John Scudder says that's the strat he worked on.
Yeah, it is. I forgot.
John, we're glad you're here to see it.
I made that in shop class, that T-shirt.
There's a lot of Easter eggs in that video.
Yeah. Oh man.
That's awesome. That was how long was that? It was a minute or so long, or was that a full length?
Yeah, we had a time limit on it. You had to make a song like under 2 minutes, I think.
That is great, Scudder. I'm so glad you got to see that. What a cool little
and
piece.
Also, I'm pretty sure that Matt had broken strings on his bass. So if you go back and look, I think he's missing a string or two.
That's the grunge part of the bass playing.
You don't need all four, man.
No, come on. The guitar's only playing 2 notes. If the bass can play one somewhere in there, you're fine.
So yeah, thanks again, Matt. That was my first music video. Low budget, did it in 24 hours.
Yeah, sometimes with lesser means, you increase the creativity.
That's right. Yeah, it does force you to work.
Yep.
And pump out the best you can in that short amount of time.
Lauren says, "Great voice, Pete."
Oh, thanks, Lauren. Appreciate that.
That's great. Well, on that note, Pete, thanks for the patience on the startup and the sound check, and thanks for joining us, man. We hope to see more of you out there. Let us know if there's anything we can do for you. If you want to do some cool streams or anything that's cooking out there that we can cover in the volume family and the volume sphere, and we'll continue to stay tuned. I actually have a friend who does a lot of booking up in the San Francisco area for groups.
Yep.
And now that I know that you're a little closer to that world, we're going to see what we can do for you up there too.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, I'm only a little under 3 hours.
Okay, great. Oh, we just got rushed with 67 viewers. Amazing.
What?
Our friend Chaz Kiss just rushed us. She must have had a show. Good to see you guys.
All right, we'll drag it out a little more.
Yeah. Wow. Good to see you. This is my friend Pete Pidgeon. We grew up playing music. Everybody who's coming in from the Chaz Kiss show, you were just catching the tail end of a wonderful time with Pete Pidgeon. You can find his music at petepidgeon.com, spelled any which way you like, because Pete's smart that way. Yeah, Pete, you'll have to check out Chaz Kiss. She's amazing. She's very regularly on volume.
Cool.
And fantastic artist. She was just down here in Atlanta. Hey, Chaz, are you, if you're in there, are you heading out to the West Coast anytime soon? I haven't looked at your tour dates lately. I should know better. But Brad, there she is. Good to see you. Yeah, so she's been touring with a trio. Yeah, you guys will have to link up in case you're ever in the same neighborhood for sure. That's kind of fun. She's hoping to hit California in the fall.
I'm pretty good. LA is San Fran.
Great. Well, we will link up. So Lauren's going. Lauren, chat. What did we learn about Pete and Ben? This is the quiz part of the show.
What did we learn? Who answers that?
I don't know.
Lauren should answer that. Ask Lauren that question.
Yeah, right. What did we learn? Lauren, did you learn anything new about us?
What did you learn today that you didn't know back in the day?
We'll find out. Jamie, do we have any other videos that we can roll that Pete? Well, you said, sure, Pete, was it the one Will that you wanted to see?
Yeah, or? Yeah, Will would be great. Or the one, the solo one that you queued up earlier, the Mockingbird Foundation one. Either of those is great. Will is probably good because it's high production, but
okay, we don't have the one queued up yet.
Okay. If you have the other one,
play that one. Video package, Mockingbird, and I forget the name of it. It was started with Tonight. Oh, that's just a song. So Tonight I'll be staying here. I like that song.
From the Mockingbird Foundation one.
Matt Ostrower wants to know, Pete, what did you do with the Battle of the Bands winnings?
Daddy's Junkie Music.
That's right.
I don't remember, but I remember going. It was something like $25. Man, we won like $100 for the band, so it was like $25 each. So I probably got some strings or something.
Yeah, that's $100 in 1990s money.
Yeah. Eventually, I bought a TV rack mount. And I messed around with that thing for like a year or two and realized it was just kind of nerdy and it didn't really do anything professional. It just made cool sounds. So I ended up selling it, but I did buy that at Daddy's, so I don't remember if that was part of it or not.
Okay. Got it. Well, we're going to cue this video. Well, we're going to cue this video up. Give everyone who joined us. Give everyone who joined us. And we have a volume first. Our friend Brad Booth, who's a co-producer, a call-in producer of this show, said officially streamed on a plane, train, and an Uber for the same person on one stream. So Brad was with us on this whole trip. So. All right, here comes the video.
Nice.
The littlest things add up, a little at a time, and I fill the whole coffee cup. Most don't even notice them, but taking at the sun, they all look familiar now. In all the ways we change, nothing stays the same for long enough for us to know our way. Leave another town behind, your memory will never find the faces that have been so kind. You'll forget more than you ever knew. Well, it's just another avenue. You're on a new one now. In all the ways we change, nothing stays the same for long enough for us to say goodbye. Dawn turns into day, the morning is a shade of gray, and you've been driving your Chevrolet all night, non-stop until you hit the west, where the mountains are the best, from Route 50 north. in all the ways we change. Nothing stays the same for long enough for us to know the ways we change. And nothing stays the same for long enough for us to know our way. Ooh, ooh, oh, oh, ooh, oh, oh, ooh.
Pete, where was that song recorded?
That was right here in San Luis Obispo.
Wow, cool.
I want to give him a shout out. It's on the first frame of that video. The studio. If you find it, Jamie, give a shout out to the studio there.
Well, that was done out there in California.
Yeah, in San Luis Obispo. And so Mockingbird Foundation is a foundation that was put together by some Phish fans.
Oh, cool.
In the 90s. What was that?
Oh, I'm remembering this now because I think I saw this stream when it came out.
I thought Jamie was jumping in there. So Mockingbird Foundation, they raised money for underfunded music school programs. So I've donated to them in the past, and they're real good people. They reached out to me. They were putting together this online festival. And so they asked me to do a segment. It was up to an hour, so I did an hour. And recorded a bunch of tunes. And this was May of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just gotten out of a real difficult mental situation with all the shutdowns and the COVID and the election and blah, blah, blah. And so this was a way to kick myself in the ass to get back in the game. So I chose the hardest songs that were available.
Yeah.
I did Rain Song by Zeppelin on a 12-string. I did Say Hello to Heaven by Chris Cornell, Temple of the Dog. I did Eruption again.
Yep.
And a bunch of original tunes, some other covers and whatnot. But it raised a lot of money for underfunded music school programs. And it was a really cool experience. The studio was super fantastic to work with. They donated their time. No one got paid for it. It was all the money going into the program.
That's great.
I gotta find their
Sauce Pot Studios.
Thank you, Sauce
Jamie.
Pot. Yeah.
Jamie Cones for the win.
Sauce Pot. Thank you, Jamie. Yes, Sauce Pot. Tank
Get
Road.
one thing right tonight.
Oh, come on, Jamie, you're doing great.
So if you're on the Central Coast, Sauce Pot is the place to go. I only did one session there, and it was a year and a half, so I'm a little fuzzy. But great dudes to work with, super cool.
Yeah, it looks like a real cozy spot.
So that whole video is on YouTube. If anyone wants to look it up, just look up Mockingbird Foundation, Pete Pidgeon, or the YouTube channel. It's on there. Pedro Paloma.
Mockingbird Foundation. That's awesome. Well, yeah, that was a great vid, man. I think that was a much more appropriate send off than the last one. And we want to thank Chaz Kiss for bringing us some of her wonderful viewers, some of her loyal fans. Anna Chaz fan is in the house, and we saw both Chaz and Mama Rose there. So yes, very proud to introduce you all to Pete Pidgeon. Please give him a follow where all the follows can be had, and PetePidgeon.com, and
all the socials.
All the socials, yeah. And I like that you're active and accessible out there. So very, very easy guy to get in touch with. But yeah, so how do I set? Okay, Brad, Yeah, you'll get yours, Brad. Brad's asking how he sets up his IMDb page as co-producer of Amplified. We'll cut you out a clip of the phone rig that you helped us do on the fly, Brad. You'll get yours. So thanks for joining and for bringing us through all the planes, trains, and automobiles. That's a good story there. But yeah, we're gonna send us off, and what we're gonna do in volume fashion to carry on the tradition of Chaz Kiss's generosity with her audience is we're going to go to a studio actually out in Lyons, Colorado right now. Pete, we're gonna basically take our audience and we're gonna rush them into my friend Brian McRae's studio where he's doing a show with Bonnie and Taylor Sims right now. So we're gonna basically that's gonna be the Pete Pidgeon after party. So
nice.
we're gonna meet some friends out there in Colorado. But thanks again to everybody who showed up, Matt O, Scudder, some of our hometown homies. It's always good to see everybody. Producer Jamie for hosting here at the Football Emporium. Pete
Thanks
Pidgeon,
for having me.
Pete Pidgeon for time traveling from the Central West Coast. Justin and all of our good homies. But yeah, let's go take a trip to Colorado, everybody, and we're going to go check in on Brian McRae. So hold on to your seats. Hang tight. We're going to go out there and see Brian. So we're going to sign off. Until next week, everyone, thanks for joining. Pete, you're a champ and a legend. And thanks again, my friend. Good to see you and good to connect.
Thank you, man. Good to see you too, brother.
We'll be seeing plenty more of you, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, heading to Colorado, everybody, on 3, 2, and 1. Rushing them.
Swinging on the lifeline, frayed bits of twine, entangled in the remnants of the knot I left behind. I'm asking you to help me make it finally unwind. God never listens to what I say. God never listens to what I say. So very hard, and you don't get a refund if you overpray. And when the line is breaking and I'm near the end, when all the time spent leading I was following instead, when all my thoughts and memories are left hanging by a thread, God never listens to what I say, and God never listens to what I say. So very hard, and you don't get a refund if you overpray. Stranded on this slender string, the minutes seem to last a lifetime, tangling here between the light above and the blue below that drags me down. God never listens to what I say, and God never listens to what I say. So very hard, and you don't get a refund. God never listens to what I say, and God never listens to what I say. So very hard, and you don't get a refund if you overpray. To what I say, God never listens. To what I say, God never listens.